we came on this big adventure of all moving our family from Australia, the other side of the world, moving to New York. It's not about the ego of, right. I want my name in the spotlight, or I was here first, or I'm taller, or I'm older. It's not that. It's what does the story need? The students are really experience humility, and they also experience the bright lights and being on the world stage.
Today we sit down with Kay Rubacek, an award-winning producer and human rights advocate. Kay's children now tour with Shenyun Performing Arts. We talk about her family's journey and her unique insights into the world of classical Chinese dance.
Kay, I wanted to ask you about being a mom of two Shenyun dancers. What's it actually like to be a mom with two performing, dancing kids?
Well, I think my answer really is more like, what's it like to be a mom? You know, I'm out of my professional career. I've had the opportunity to pivot a number of times. Right, I'm professionally a producer in multimedia and film and music. But when people ask me which out of these career paths that I've taken, what's my favorite? I've thought about it, and really it's being a mom. I've got to say it's been the most rewarding path. You know, I'm not talking financially rewarding in terms of you do a job and you get paid for it. I'm talking in terms of like work that you put in and what you get back. And I've thought about this because I didn't know every other job that I've done, I've been able to learn how to do it. And there's a manual that usually comes with it, or a textbook, or a mentor.
Coach, yeah.
There's a coach, there's somebody. But being a mom is pretty tough. And my kids are still kids, though my son's just turned 21, so I guess he's not a kid anymore. I still think of them as kids, right? But they've still got all this time ahead of them. But now it is rewarding for me as a parent to know that my kids are doing something they really love. They love what they're doing. They get to see the world as they travel. My daughter is studying at the Feitian Academy and the high school, and my son is studying at the college, Feitian College. And so as part of their practicum, they get to tour with Shenyun, which it's pretty cool. And just seeing that the opportunities they've got through this, through the school and through the performing arts has just been really rewarding for me as a parent, because I just see what they're getting out of it and that they love it. I mean, what more could you ask for?
Were they always like the kind of kid that would want to perform, that wants to be on stage, wants to be in the spotlight? Is that their personality?
Not really. My daughter, she was, as soon as she could walk, she was trying to dance. She loved music. She'd spin around in the room and in trying to be in time with the music, like 2 years old. My son was always very agile, creative, and expressive, but never into dance. That was never a thing for him. That was never. We always expected my daughter to do something in terms of dance, whether it was more like a hobby. We never expected this to be professional. More of a professional opportunity. But they're also Caucasian. My husband and I are both white, and our kids are white, and to dance with a classical Chinese dance company was never on our plan for the kids, right? But the opportunity came up, and both the kids wanted that. So no, it wasn't expected.
Were they born in Australia? That's where you're from, right?
They were both born in Australia. I'm born and raised in Sydney, Australia. And when we moved to America, I came here for work almost 15 years ago. They were 4 and 7, respectively, when we came. So
how did they end up with classical Chinese dance, like not ballet or not modern dance or something?
Well, my daughter was doing ballet.
Okay.
So that's where she started. She started with ballet. She did have some friends who were doing classical Chinese dance on the weekends, so she had some exposure to it. But there's a school in the area where I live in Orange County, New York. It's upstate, a couple hours from Manhattan. there was a school that was established that was really focusing on character building. And that's, for me, that's really important. And of course, I care about academics and everything, and I wanted my kids to have opportunities, but the fact that they were helping kids to have more of a care about their internal, it's not internal behavior, it's like how you treat yourself and how you treat other people. I think that's very important. And so this school, Northern Academy in Middletown, they had an opportunity to go there. So my son went first, and in that school, they have a dance track. And he was doing science, the STEM track. But he just found he needed more of a challenge. And so I said, look, choose one of the arts tracks at this school, because their art tracks are really exceptional. I expected him to choose music because he already played a few instruments. He has a natural ability in music, but he chose dance. It got him off the computer because he was always, sitting there typing on the computer.
Fix his posture.
He was into hacking. He was into,
Really?
computer programming and all of these things. So he could learn things very quickly. And he needed a challenge, and he said, look, some of his friends recommended, said, get off the computer, get your posture, use your body. He had a good physique for dancing, lean, long legs,
He's
long
pretty tall,
arms.
right? How tall is he?
He's my height, 6 foot.
Okay.
He's a little taller than me now. And his friends said to him, why don't you do dancing? So he joined the dance track, and then his friends then all joined the dance track, and they started to be more and more, at the time there was mostly Chinese dancers in the classical Chinese dance track, but now there was more Caucasians.
Yeah.
And the dance teachers there, a number of them are former Shenyun dancers themselves. So that just gave him a leg up, where one of the dance teachers said to me, I really think Lee has the opportunity to audition for Shenyun. And that really shocked me because I didn't expect that. I said, he's white.
You would think this was just something he was doing would be good for his character building, for athleticism.
Think about dance. Anyone who does dance, any employer, as someone who's worked I work in production, but I've had to involve in a lot of HR things. Yeah. And when you're hiring and firing people, you're looking at, what are some of the characteristics you're looking at? You're looking at discipline, respect, ability to reliability. In dance, to be good at dance, you have to maintain a set type of self-discipline that you don't get in other fields, because you have to want to do it. It's your body that you're using every day. If you don't want to work your body, no one else can make you work your body. So it's and it's tiring to
It's like being an athlete, really.
It is.
With a more expressive, perhaps performative element to it.
Definitely very creative athleticism. So really, you think about it, it's like, why wouldn't you?
So he went to Feitian Academy of the Arts. It was because he was at Northern. Yes. Over in Middletown. Yeah,
he was at Northern in Middletown, which is it's a private school. So we sent him there first to see if it was going to be worth the investment there, and it was. So then his teacher, it was really when you get a good teacher, it just changes everything. Yeah. And I've had a few really good teachers in schools growing up, and the memory sticks with me. And he had an exceptional teacher at the school for dance. He had a number of good teachers, but his dance teacher really got him ready in a way that I didn't think was possible. But he contacted me as a parent, the teacher, and said, I think Lee has a possibility to audition. Can I prepare him for that? And I said, okay. Lee agreed. And I said, well, then you tell me what I need to do to support that as a parent. And so we went through the process of stretching, of wearing weighted vests to kind of build up his muscle, planks, and all sorts of things to really strengthen whatever was needed to strengthen, stretch what needed to be stretched. And then he was accepted. He went to Feitian Academy, and then my daughter went to Northern Academy. And she was doing ballet. They have a really good ballet program, very good ballet teachers. But because Lee was already training to potentially one day travel with, tour with Shen Yun as part of his practicum, he was encouraging his sister to do classical Chinese dance. And that was a tough choice. Do we switch her from ballet to classical Chinese dance?
Right.
Or do we stay in ballet? And she really loved ballet. And she didn't know how much, she would like classical Chinese dance. And the forms are different. If you go from one, they're both beautiful art forms, but it's not like you can just switch.
Yeah, they have different requirements. The technical moves are different.
Yeah.
The lines are different.
So she was really getting into the ballet, and we spoke to some teachers there, and they said they looked at her physique and measurements and proportions, which are important for stage and for selection. And they said she has a very good opportunity, that a good chance of being selected, but there's no guarantees.
Yeah.
So we thought, okay, Shen Yun is a potential goal. It's a company that's touring every year. What other arts companies do that? Put in that much effort to go and perform and give you the opportunity to tour every year? Not that many.
Yeah.
And a lot of performing arts companies stay in certain locations. You don't get that.
And Shen Yun is growing. There's been more and more companies over time as well, so there's more jobs.
And that gave us the confidence, like seeing that at the time. I think maybe there were 6 companies or something, and seeing that Shen Yun was growing, it gave us confidence that we're not putting our kids into a field that's not going anywhere.
Good dead end, yeah.
And so Grace decided to make the change from ballet to Chinese classical dance. She loved it. It's very fluid. That's how she described it. It's very fluid, and so she can do things that are very strong, but it's also very gentle. And that was, ballet has the strength and the softness too, but it's also quite rigid. So they have their different strengths. And once she made the switch, she was glad she did, and then she did get an audition, and she did get accepted. But that was a risk we took. We didn't know. There's no guarantees.
Right. But what changes have you seen in them?
They have built strong relationships with their peers, and that was, that takes time to acclimate to the new environment. So I think there's 2 parts. There's the training part and the school, which I'm really impressed by the school. But then they've had this opportunity to go on tour as part of the practicum arrangement, which is very cool. And so for that, I think last year when my son came back, all of our family were asking, what was your favourite place that you went to this year? And he said, look, let me tell you something. He said, we went to Switzerland and we went to Brazil as part of this tour. And he said that gave him such a contrast to see society, 2 different societies, completely. It's not that they're completely different, we're all human, but I was blown away that he not only he had the opportunity, but that he could value that.
Yeah.
And it changed his perspective about looking at the world and looking at other people and respecting people.
When I was in the Army, this is a couple decades ago, and we're going to go, we had like a day off at home, and we're going to go on a hike with the family. And they said, okay, we're gonna leave at 10. I was like standing by the door, 9:58, just like upright with my bag in my hand. And my parents are like, who is this kid? This kid, you have to always drag him out. He's the last one out the door. Now he's here waiting for us, at attention. Did you see anything like that with your kids?
A little bit. So for him, he always had that sort of regimen, being disciplined, organized time. For my daughter, it was more, it has helped her be more regimented. She'd be more likely to be more casual about certain things and about her room, keeping the room clean or being on time and things like that. But I see that she's more dedicated to really improving herself, also spiritually too. I can just see that she's really putting in the effort to do what she wants to do, what she thinks is important for her. So that was a choice that she's making to do on her own.
What do you think made that change when she was there?
I think the environment encourages that because so many of the people in Shen Yun and at Fei Tian Academy practice Falun Dafa, as I understand. And so that is a real benefit because I know that they're trying to be truthful and tolerant and have forbearance. So that's a great thing, but it's something that you can only do on your own. You have to do by choice. And it's not like anyone can make you do those things. No one can force you to be truthful or compassionate. It has to come from within. So when I see my daughter choosing to go and work on herself by being, just chilling out, going and meditating on her own, I think it's a really good thing. I think the environment fosters that, but it's still, anything when it comes to spirituality, I think is really a personal choice.
I think there's a lot more room in our lives to find that balance because especially with the lives that performers lead. And for me also on tour, like you got performances, you got your academics if you're a student, you have other work.
Jet lag,
sure. Yeah, just time on the road and checking in out of hotels, going in and out of theaters, and then to find that time just go chill and meditate. I know I definitely need to do more of that.
Right.
Yeah.
It forces you to concentrate, and that's what I find is that it forces me to block out the noise that's going on in everything else in my life, and it's really hard to do. And people say to me, it's really hard to meditate. Yeah, it is. But it's worth working on because I see the benefits coming back into my life and being able to handle situations like when my kids were at home and it was more stressful and things like that. Now I have different other stresses going on, to balance everything else going on in my life. But it doesn't matter what you do. I think everyone can benefit from meditation and just being able to put your mind focus and being able to reset. It's a good balance for mind and body. I think it's really...
Actually, all the dancers, they will do a little meditation a few minutes before the show.
I guess it's a pre-show ritual, a pre-sports performance, whatever... So many performers and elite sports people have something that they do beforehand. So I'm not surprised that Shenyun dancers would meditate before. Yeah. And though when you think about the amount of energy, when I watch the show, I can see their energy. I think anyone can see the energy going, just exuding from them. But yeah, I guess it does make sense that they would meditate, calm down first, and then be able to just pull.
So, speaking of watching a performance, what was it like for you the first time you saw, I guess it would have been Lee, performing on stage?
It was very moving to see the show itself. It's sometimes so overwhelming just in terms of so many stories, and there's just so much to take in that I wanted to just watch it again and again because I want to be able to pay attention. I was just zoned in. There's Lee. Okay, there's Lee. But I'm trying to take in the whole story. Yeah. So that was my challenge, was taking in the whole story and also...
Disconnecting, I guess, from being a parent, looking at your kid perform, and actually taking in the show as an audience member.
Yeah, I really couldn't do it. I was just focused on being a mom.
Yeah.
And like, there he is. It's like, because they all fit in so well together, even though he's Caucasian and there's other Caucasians or part Caucasians in the companies. They just blend so well together. No one's standing out or sticking out like that in any way where you'd be able to spot and say, there's the white kid or something like that. No, it's so smooth and the delivery's so spectacular. But seeing the dance exams was a whole nother experience for us because, I haven't had that much exposure to classical Chinese dance before. And being around the teachers who were involved to potentially offer these kids the opportunity, these students, to go to on a Shenyun tour and seeing how they all interact. Having a live piano teacher playing the piano feels it's very traditional in that way. The bars, they've got the dance bars around the room as you would expect in a ballet studio, and seeing the students perform their techniques as techniques to piano music is very reminiscent of what I remember from seeing ballets growing up and really enjoying that. And then seeing my kids participating in the class activities like that and seeing the techniques they do, seeing the moves without the costumes, just in the regular dance clothes that they wear. for the exams was really, I really look forward to that as well. And I just see every year they're adding to their techniques, they're adding to their moves, they're adding complexities and challenges for themselves, and you can see they're really enjoying it, and it's paying off.
And you get to see a little bit the teacher-student interaction during the exams, right? The teacher's off on the side, you know, commanding different moves or stuff like that. What do you make, or what do you hear from your kids about their relationship with the teachers?
It's really important. They really get so much from the teachers, and so they have a lot of interactions with the teachers in the class, and then being able to ask questions, and then the teachers checking in on them on lots of things, and on everything really, because for dance you have to take care of yourself physically, you have to be mentally strong as well to control your body, and then you have to be pretty emotionally, you have to be pretty level. You can't be just up and down, which is so common, especially for teenagers. You get really, hormones are changing, it's a whole different stage of life, and having emotions going up and down. The teacher has to navigate this with, especially that age group, but they're very experienced, and I know that, and I can see it every time, and when I've interacted with them. I love the respect between the students and the teachers. And I see that it goes both ways, but it is strict. That's the only way you can really get a good performance out of any dance form is really having that self-discipline, but also class discipline.
It's really, in many ways, like a mentorship type of program, especially when they're on practicum and they're out there and they're traveling, and if they need somebody to talk to, or just in terms of improving their technique in dance.
They go above and beyond from what I've observed, is that the teachers will put in that extra time, the extra effort they're responsible for from what I know of, to keep everyone, to get everyone to the same standard, to be able to perform as on stage as a group. Everyone has to be good.
Yeah.
There's no back row dancer that can just get away with knowing a few things.
You can see everything really clearly.
Yeah. So the teacher has to get everyone to that level. So to do that, the only way, from my understanding, is that you have to know who you're working with, and you see that the value that they place in each of the students and the dancers to really get them to that level, because everyone has different strengths. Some will be more flexible than others, some will be more jump higher than others, but you have to get everyone to a place where they can exhibit their strengths in certain opportunities, maybe a solo opportunity or something, but then other times you have to bring everyone up or hold them back for certain things, so that they're doing everything the right way at the right time. Because what I observe from watching Shen Yun is that it's the stories that really, it's important to get the story across. And as a producer of films and video, you have to get the story across. It's not about the ego of, I want my name in the spotlight, or I was here first, or I'm taller, or I'm older. It's not that. It's, what does the story need? I think that's the best way to really work in performing arts or film arts, and I see that in Shen Yun, and I've observed that in my own professional field, but that's what I'm observing in Shen Yun, and that's why I think the stories are so powerful, because the students are really experience humility, and they also experience the bright lights and being on the world stage, but they're really grounded. And I think that's probably the term, is that they're really grounded. When you think about being international performers and they've traveled all these different countries and been on these stages, they're actually really grounded. And I think what we were saying with discussing earlier with dance is that you can't be going up and down emotionally. You really have to keep your mind, body, energy, emotions,
especially if you're performing every day. The curtain comes up, you better be ready.
I think that's why every time I see it, I get the same, not the same feeling, but I feel the energy and the power from the show, whether it's my kids in the show or not. It doesn't matter. When my kids are in the show, of course I'm looking for them, but it doesn't matter which Shenyun show I've seen, and I've seen a lot, I get that power from the dancers. And so I was touched by the show, and I was moved by the mission. And so when there was an opportunity for them to potentially participate in that, I did want to check everything out as a diligent mom and make sure I knew everything about the school and the teachers, and that I would feel comfortable with the boarding environment. But I also knew that it would be great if they had a chance to be a part of that, because it's a really special mission, and I knew that if my kids wanted to do that, I would fully support them to do it. So it was their choice, but we supported them to do it, yeah.
I also want to ask you, I think, maybe as a final question, it's interesting to think from a parent's perspective about your kids' future.
They actually are performing at an elite level. It is a career, it is a profession, they work hard at it, and there's no guarantees with dance, they know that. But one thing I did stress to my family after witnessing it myself with my interactions with Shenyun is that I'm really impressed by Shenyun, the support mechanism and the system. The fact that there is not only a college associated with Shenyun, there's also the academy and the high school, already to me indicates that Shenyun is thinking long term. They're training their dancers to have a really good solid foundation in the art form, but they're also giving them, and I witnessed this through what my kids tell me on tour, is that when you're on tour, you're touring with MCs, you're touring with audio engineers and lighting specialists and stage managers and all kinds of different people involved in the arts, musicians. So my kids are interacting with a whole range of professionals in the arts, performing arts field. And they love that. They've got friends in all of these specialised fields. And there's ones that they're particularly interested in. My son's particularly interested in audio. My daughter's interested in video. So they've had opportunities along the way to either get involved in some music production or making videos as a side. And there are a lot of I've seen older dancers have the opportunity. They're not just dumped and left and say maybe in some productions may finish after a time. The company closes down, and then the dancers or the artists got to go find another job.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that with Shenyun. I've seen that those who want to stay there, and they're given opportunities to do other things, whether it's their time to leave dance, or they decide, it's an injury, or it's time
or
to
they could teach.
Change. Oh, absolutely.
There's more and more schools now also.
They can teach, they can choreograph. There's a lot of production things. There's company managers. There's just a lot of people involved. And this is me talking as an outsider. Yeah. You know this side more than I do.
Is there anything else I should have asked you about? Anything else that you want to share?
Oh, we covered a lot. This has been a great chat.
We haven't talked about your whole media production and,
Oh, that's okay. Like I said, being a parent, maybe you can attest to this, is a pretty cool career opportunity.
It is.
I'm glad to talk about that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.